I'm FD from Roll with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
I'm rolling with FD.
And this is my co-host, Big Jon.
Hey YouTube, it's your boy Big Jon. Thank you for rolling with me and FD here on What's to Play.
We're here every week.
Big Jon, what's going on?
What's up? What's going on?
Talking sports, the hobby, pop culture, and much more.
Catch us every Tuesday night talking about sports, the sports car hobby, and current events. Go Bears.
Most of these teams that do not care about if they're winning ball games. They care enough about, are you interested in what they're doing?
Beckett probably going out of business or getting bought soon.
I don't think Kawhi Leonard, if he comes back, he's going to end up going back out.
Dion, you don't got to like that he cocky, but he got a right to be.
Big Jon, if Jimmy Butler goes to the Bay, I'm on the ground and I'm not. And you all know we're going to bring on guests from the hobby and everywhere else that you want to hear from.
You have to be prepared for haters. You have to be prepared for people who don't like you.
I started opening up my first packs in 1976.
I don't want to interrupt you, but while you're talking, I just got some background entertainment for you, but keep going.
What are you playing? Michael Jordan.
We got Junior in the house and we got Paxton in the house.
A lot of players got to find a way to win based on their own strengths.
What would we say is John Morant's strength?
Attacking the rim.
You know, small guards attack the rim, don't play long. This is the What's to Play podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to What's to Play. I got Big Jon here, and we have our guest, Adam, here tonight.
What's going on,
Adam,
guys?
how you doing?
What's up, Adam? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is awesome. I'm glad to connect with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about. I'll give the audience the formal introduction. We have the pleasure of interviewing Adam Gelman, one of the great people in the hobby. He runs the main event Patreon, right? Mm-hmm. Great content about wrestling, not only about the WWE, but also about research and trends in the hobby. A Becky Lynch super collector. I
am, yep. Guilty as charged.
The best collection of Becky Lynch in the game. So we got some conversation. Adam, now before we get into WWE and you, we do talk a lot of sports right here, so I hope you're ready for the ride.
Absolutely.
Kick it off, Big Jon.
So tell everybody about yourself, Adam. How long you been in the hobby? You know, your background.
Yeah, so I've been collecting cars. I mean, like, listen, this is like the typical story that everybody tells, I'm sure. But yeah, so I grew up. I'm from Minnesota, so like grew up Twins fan, Vikings fan, sadly, and you know, just got into card collecting because my dad, my dad was kind of part of that early era of like, I'm gonna write everybody under the sun to get an autograph, and he was like one of the people doing all of that before it was cool. So he like wrote to all the presidents and congressmen and sports stars, and he's a big golf fan too. So he's got like all these golfers too, and he got me really into it. So when I was young, like we used to go to card shows and like all these things. And so like I got back into the hobby and like I graduated from college as an English major. So I loved writing and stuff like that. Started a website back in like 2006, 2007, where for a long time, you know, the only hobby news source was Beckett, right? Everybody loved to read their Beckett. And it was rainbows and lollipops. And I knew that there was like this behind the scenes stuff that was all going on that no one ever talked about. So my original site, Sports Cards Uncensored, was sort of dedicated to exposing some of the things that maybe Beckett didn't want to talk about, maybe giving some more honest criticism and feedback on products. And through the years, like I just kept writing and writing and writing. And, you know, I left, you know, regular sports cards probably in like 2019. So I was collecting a lot of Vikings, a lot of Twins. And, you know, I just couldn't handle it anymore. Things were just not fun. And my son, who is now 15, at the time he was younger, came into like the family room one day and he was like, "Hey Dad, I want to buy WrestleMania." And I'm just like, "No, hell no. I'm not paying $100 for a pay-per-view. Like I used to do this when I was a kid. Like we used to buy WrestleMania and SummerSlam. It was like $100. Mm-hmm. Like we're not doing that." He's like, No. It's free now. You just sign up for this network. So we started watching wrestling. My whole family got into it. I've got 4 young kids. So like we're all gathering around the TV and Monday and Friday nights. And it just got going from there. I was like, oh my God, there's cards associated with this too. Of course I'm going in head first. So, just through my writing and everything like that, that's how I've sort of kept my hobby presence, if you will, on everything. And, wrestling has really become my passion because it brought all the fun back that I lost in the sports card game back in the year 2019. So, unfortunately, my Instagram graveyard of cards is millions of dollars that I missed out on, but selling too early. But I'm excited to be in wrestling and creating content there. So that's the Cliff Notes version of my story.
It's awesome, right? I think everybody has a time where we get away from cards or something happens.
Exactly.
And especially with sports, with the same then we found something that sparks.
Yeah.
Let's right back to it.
Exactly correct.
So, Adam, what part of Minnesota are you from?
I'm from Minneapolis. So, I grew up right around I was probably 10 minutes outside of downtown for most of my life. I went to school on the East Coast. I went to GW and then we lived in Texas for a while. We lived in LA for a while, and now we're back in Minnesota, but kind of further out in the boonies, we're probably about 30 minutes, 40 minutes outside of Minneapolis downtown. So, still part of the Minnesota culture, but not as close to the action anymore.
Back in the day, in 2003, I worked the internship there, and I lived on 14th and Hennepin.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, it was a good time. And time goes so fast that it's hard to believe that years ago, but I remember it. Yeah.
So both me and FD are both from Chicago, so we got the Midwest thing. I've been to Minnesota once, trying to get some puppies with my aunt when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm up in Chicago. See, I work in IT sales, so I'm in Chicago every other month. So yeah, I'm right there with you, bud.
Cool.
All right, so what else? So you're doing the wrestling thing now. So what latched you on to Becky Lynch? What was she the first person that you latched on to, or were you an AJ Lee person?
Listen, AJ Lee is awesome, but so when I was younger and watching wrestling every week, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I grew up in the middle of the Attitude Era, right? So I was 12 and 13 when Stone Cold and The Rock and everybody was going at it. And Stone Cold was always my favorite wrestler because he was everybody's favorite wrestler at that point. If you didn't love Stone Cold, what were you even doing watching wrestling? And so when we came back, and my son sort of got me back into this, the person who was kind of going on that major push through that time frame in 2017, 2018 was Becky Lynch, and her character was very similar in terms of the way that they positioned her as a modern day Stone Cold Steve Austin. So naturally, I had to sort of latch on. And for people who don't collect wrestling cards, it's one of those things where if you don't you either collect everything or you collect one specific person. And so, when you come into the community and you start to interact with people, the first thing you do is you choose your person. And because at the time when I started, wrestling cards were insanely inexpensive and cheap to get into, coming off of spending, $10,000 on a case of Contenders, I could get a case of WWE cards for the price of a box of Contenders football. And so it was really easy for me to say, oh, well, I'm going to choose, somebody that I enjoy watching on TV. And so I started buying her cards, but they were really cheap. It was $20, $40 an autograph. And I'm just this is so easy. And so by the time that we got to, 2019, 2020, when she was sort of the top face in the company, I had already built up a massive collection, because that's just what happens. It's just you just get into these grooves. And, I've collected people others Stone, I bought some Stone Cold cards. I've bought some Rock cards. I've bought some, but they always get sold off so I can buy more of the main person I collect. So as much as I would love to have a diverse collection of all these different people, they all get sold when I have to buy a big Becky card. So,
yeah. See, I'm like this. Montez is my person for this generation.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
I'm a big Tez fan. His cards are super cheap, so I can get relatively what I want within reason. And it's a wonderful thing to collect. I mean, of course, John Cena is my favorite, but
so I just ripped a box of WWE and I pulled a really nice Montez card. I will send it to you on Instagram. Make sure you send me your address so I can shoot it off to you because this card needs to be in your collection. It's awesome.
Yes, I just got the Topps Chrome out of 25 geometric.
Yeah, so this is I pulled the Sapphire out of 25. I'll send it your way to match your orange there, so you can get both of them now.
All right, appreciate it. Yes, questions, FD?
How old were you when you first started noticing wrestling? What made you interested? I can remember when I became interested in WrestleMania 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me your story.
So my brother's 3 years younger, and Minnesota is a really big wrestling area. Like Hulk Hogan, started in Minnesota. Like, I don't really care about Hulk Hogan anymore, but he started in Minnesota. Ric Flair has all these terrible people with horrible backgrounds started in Minnesota, but they're big wrestlers. So, but and Brock Lesnar and all these people, another person who's had major problems lately, it seems to be a common thread here. But, like we get to these, like in Minnesota, like you're kind of indoctrinated into this culture very early. So, when I was young, we used to go to Blockbuster Video and rent like all of the wrestling videotapes as they would come out. We never, my parents would never buy the pay-per-views, so we had to wait until they were released on video. And so we would go and go to Blockbuster. I think the first WrestleMania I remember is WrestleMania 6 with the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan fighting in the what is it now, the Rodger Center. Now it was the Sky Dome. Yeah. So that was probably the first time I genuinely remember like watching like right after and when Macho Man and Elizabeth got married at SummerSlam. Like I vividly remember all those. So like really young, I was probably like 8 or 9 at that point. My brother, giving him, rock bottoms on the bed and on my mom's bed, and she would come up and yell at us. Like, yeah, that all happened.
So are you like a live event person, or you just watch on TV? Have you been in any shows in person?
Oh my God. So Raw comes through Minneapolis. Raw and SmackDown come through Minneapolis pretty frequently. We always go when they come. I've been to a SummerSlam, I've been to a TLC, and I've been to WrestleMania 38. Those are the only so I every time it comes through Minneapolis, we always, the whole family always goes.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of shows. I was at the WrestleMania with John Cena and The Rock and John Cena and Miz in Atlanta. Yep. And that spoiled me. Like I if it's not WrestleMania, I don't even want to go anymore. I'm spoiled now. So that was almost 12 years ago. Huh?
It's one of those bucket list events that you have to go through. Like I remember walking. So I used to live in Texas, but I had moved back to Minneapolis. Topps used to release Transcendent, and they had the invites to their party, and the party took place at WrestleMania. So I went and bought one of those tickets to go to that party. So we got like ringside tickets to WrestleMania 38, and that was Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, still one of my favorite matches of all time. And like, even though Becky lost, and like it was a crazy experience because you walk into like Jerry World, which is like this cavernous like dome, and it's just completely filled to the brim. And they've got this giant stage and everything. Like it's an experience unlike anything else I've ever been to. But to go now, it's like $4,000 just to get a seat in the place,
it's expensive now, but man, it's a really good time.
It is.
And a really long weekend. So
I didn't know it was that expensive to go.
Oh my God. The prices for these have tripled in the last like 5-6 years. It's insane. So yeah, if you don't have the funds going to WrestleMania, especially at like a place like Vegas where it is this year, like it is like I was just getting a seat in the upper nosebleeds is like $800. It's crazy.
What do you think has led to the growth of WWE? And
yeah, that's a good question too. So I think like everybody sort of cites that, ever since the WWE network started being like this sort of like easily accessible platform, and then, they get on Fox with SmackDown, like it's out there. It's always been a household name. Like everybody knows who these wrestlers are, Cena and Rock and Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan, like good or bad, people like know who they are. And so I think the main issue was like it kind of went through like this giant spike in the early 2000s, late 90s with the Attitude Era, but then it kind of like completely trailed off, and it's back now where they're selling out every show, every building, because I think now that Vince McMahon is gone and like people have started to recognize that they're telling better stories, they're being more invested in characters, like the soap opera is more entertaining now, so people want to come back and watch. And it doesn't hurt that you get Travis Scott and John Cena and The Rock all in the ring at the same time at this last pay-per-view. I mean, like that's a cultural event. And like even like my 15-year-old who really has stopped, he's moved on, he's gone on to like different things. Like he came to me, he's like, oh my god, Travis Scott was on Raw and he was on he was in the pay-per-view. And I'm like, yeah, like this is a big deal. Like they've got all the celebrities now.
Yeah,
So
you bring in different demographics together. The
exactly.
marketing is off the chain. Big John and I were talking about this a couple episodes ago. They did a great job. Now you got this triple sign card that's out there that people are talking about. Like
it's crazy. Like I remember like for 20 plus years, The Rock never signs a card. And like Topps comes back and they have this Michael Rubin who, for all his faults, does have one big plus, which is he knows all of these people. So The Rock immediately comes back, signs a bunch of cards, but then he's also got access to all of these other people who are on the edges of WWE, but they're huge celebrity names. So you've got like, like all of these crazy people coming to the shows. You're seeing them featured on camera. And then not only that, they're signing cards for WWE. I mean, you've got Bad Bunny, who is a global megastar. You've got Logan Paul, who is a trash human being, but has millions and millions of followers. And like all of these other things where you're bringing, the popular culture of today's youth and bringing them into this sort of arena. Like, don't get me wrong, I probably couldn't name a Travis Scott song if they put it in front of me, but I know the impact that he has on popular culture. I've seen what they did at Fanatics Fest, where they're bringing a Travis Scott labeled set and the popularity of that. So like they're doing things like that. Plus, if you see what they're doing in baseball with all of their Japanese exposure and their worldwide audiences that they're trying to bring into these cultures, I mean, it's undeniable. Like Topps is really doing using that access that they have with all of these people for the best possible experience for collectors.
So one thing I think interesting, right, with WWE and Topps, like you get actual Speed has a card.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Right? And these, my son is 18. All he does is watch screens of Kai, Speed, them all day on his spread time.
All on every show. Those guys are all on every show.
It's like, oh, okay, I know who this is, Dad. Oh, and he's telling me, oh, yeah, that guy's cool. That card is cool because that guy is cool. Like I don't know who this kid is, so you're bringing everything together that way.
But like the thing with Speed is not only are they bringing him to the show, but they're getting them involved. Like Speed takes this insane spear from Braun Breaker in the middle. It's like it's replayed hundreds and hundreds of millions of times on social media because it's a moment. Like. And WWE is a company built on moments, and they're putting these celebrities in spots where they can create these moments which get exposure all over social media. It's incredible to see. I mean, you have Bad Bunny with a title belt performing on SNL. Like it's just like that never happened before. Yeah. So it's just like it was crazy. And like I love to see stuff like that. I love to see mega exposure for cards and for wrestling and for everything, to the point where like even on Monday Night Raw, like when they do the main event, they put 2 Topps Chromes cards up there on the screen to show who's wrestling in the match. I mean, like that type of exposure, you can't buy that. It's just insane.
So Back when Fanatics announced that they were canceling a couple of the Fanatics Fest in Miami and in Pittsburgh and LA, we were talking and like it's the one in New York. And then like a week later, I seen on Raw, Michael Cole was talking about Fanatics Fest. And I came to FD, I was like, yeah, they're going to be a Fanatics Fest in New York because WWE does not talk about events. It's not going to happen. And they plan the events 6 months to a year out. So that event is definitely happening.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to promote it or say anything about it if it's not going to happen. So there's a chance it's not going to happen. You won't hear about it.
I want to go so badly. It's like it's a crazy time for me at work, so I'm it's going to be a struggle for me to get there. But like that event has become like a gathering spot that's even rivaling kind of what they do with the National in Chicago and other places. Like it's so much fun to see so many like-minded people in one area where they can all sort of appreciate cards and the things that are going on. But like if you saw the last Fanatics Fest, like the main focus of Fanatics Fest was WWE. And like everybody was shocked. Like, how does this happen? Like Fanatics and WWE are a big thing, but in the hobby, it wasn't a thing yet. And so like no one sort of came out of nowhere, right?
So you brought up Fanatics Fest and the National. Do you think the National should move away from Chicago at some point?
No, absolutely not. Like Chicago needs to be the permanent home of that show.
Hey, are you saying that because it's centrally located in America, or what takes you down that road? So
the Rosemont Horizon Convention Center, which is where they house the shit, they've housed it there for decades. It's a space unlike anything else that really exists for a lot of different reasons. Not only do you have, to your point, it is absolutely centrally located and easy to get to. You can fly into O'Hare really easily or Midway or whatever. But like when it's in Atlantic City or when it's in Cleveland, it's impossible to get to. I went last year in Cleveland, and you have to fly into Cleveland, which is tough in its own right from a lot of different places. Yep. You have to drive to this out-of-the-way airport hangar in the middle of nowhere. There's terrible parking. There's no hotels. There's no accessibility. And in Chicago, they have all of that. It's literally built for that type of a convention. So, unless you're going to spend millions and millions of dollars to have it in San Diego where they do Comic-Con, or spend millions and millions of dollars to do it in New York where they're doing Fanatics Fest and New York Comic-Con, these types of spots don't exist. And Chicago being so central and being so easy to get to, and it's right next to the airport and there's tons of space, you can't move it away from there. It's the best that there is.
I agree. I haven't been to one yet, but everything should be in Chicago if it's up to me.
From a non-biased point of view.
Have you been to the Rosemont Convention?
I've been to the Rosemont. I've been to the Rosemont area. I've been there. I know how good it is, but I haven't been to the National there. So, but when I go home, I fly into O'Hare. Maybe I can hit the L. 2 stops on the L, you in Rosemont. And that's where everything's at. Yeah. You literally $3 get you right there when you get off the plane. You don't have to take an Uber. You don't have to take a taxi.
It's great.
And you can safely get on the L from there.
Let's say you end the show early. You could be downtown. You could be at a Cubs game in no time.
We do. Mm-hmm. I mean, most people do. That's the stuff that, because the show's a week long. So most people get sick of walking 25,000 steps a day and say hey, I just want to go get some pizza and watch a Cubs game. And that's what they do. It's great.
Because nobody wants to watch Sox games.
No, they don't. Not after last year.
Not unless you're diehard. No, not really. Oh, I want to hit some. We got Zerny here. Said I do get a different vibe with wrestling now. It grabs me when flipping through the channels. Mm-hmm. And then we got Hector. Hector, what's up? Haven't been to a national since Anaheim one. Hate that those old dealers won't come west.
Yeah, it's an old boys club. It sucks. And so I used to live in Texas. I lived in San Antonio, and there was a push to get the National to come to Texas because there's so much space and there's all those other things, but it's tough to get to, right? Unless you're flying through Dallas. And all the dealers complained that they were even considering it. They were going to put it in Atlanta too. Like there was a big push to put it in Atlanta, which would have been incredible. Like Atlanta is such an awesome area, and it's a hub for multiple airlines and stuff. Would be easy to get to, and the dealers just complain because they're crotchety old men who really don't have any way of breaking their habits of going to the 3 places that they've had before.
True.
You got a question from Sammy FD up there in the comments.
What we got from Sammy here? Warriors. So okay. Yeah, Giannis and Lillard coming to town. Just so you know, Sammy, when you see me look to the right, I'm watching the game a little bit, and the Warriors are up 20-9. I don't think Milwaukee can hang with this tempo. Brook Lopez is not happening. So we'll see how the rest of this game goes. I'm going to reference back this comment later on tonight.
All right, so
do it.
Adam, I know you're a W guy, but you say you're a Minnesota fan. You have a basketball team. We talk a lot of basketball here, so we're going to get some sports talk if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
Are you a Timberwolves fan?
Yeah, so like I was pissed when the Timberwolves traded Cat. I mean, like Anthony Edwards is a generational talent, and like he's the future of this league. Like, and you have players around him that proven that they can beat the Nuggets, they can beat all of these teams, and yet you're going to trade away one of the most vital pieces for Julius Randle, who's like, yeah, he's good, but I mean, he's not like. It's not going to be the same without Cat. And, he's a Minnesota guy. He's been with the team for, 10 plus years. Like, I don't know, man, that was a bad deal. And I'm pissed at the ownership, and A-Rod and everybody are fighting over ownership with this guy, Glenn Taylor, who's owned the team for a while. And like, everybody wants him to sell the team because they're trying to cut payroll and all this other stuff. And I don't know, man, Timberwolves are in a tough spot right now, but they're not doing terrible, but they could be doing a lot better.
Well, I saw the Cat move as a financial move because you overpaid for Rudy Gobert. So then somebody had to leave.
Yeah, Rudy, like, because of his defense, like, it's hard to find these days a big man that can compete with Wemby and some of those really, really powerful scorers that you can have in the paint and everything. And Rudy just, I mean, he's the Stifle Tower, man. Like he's amazing in stopping those types of players. But are you really going to pay the kind of money that they did for him over, putting some role players around, Ant-Man and all those other guys? I don't know. It's like, I'm not a really good basketball GM because the salary cap really sort of limits some of these stuff and luxury taxes, but they could have done a lot better, man. A lot better.
So the question is now, does Minnesota pay Ant-Man a supermax?
They have to.
Well, we saw Dallas didn't do it with Luka. So
yeah, but look at what happened as a result of them not wanting to do that. Like the whole entire nation turned against them.
So when that trade happened, I was on board with it, right? I think Luka and Anthony Davis are same player, different positions, years apart, right? They both gonna be injured most. You're going to get a great offensive effort. You're going to get better defense from Davis. And I thought having Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving together is a really good team. Mm-hmm. I also thought having LeBron and Luka together could be formidable, right? I've said that. But the further we get away from that trade, the worse it looks, right? Because of injuries, worse it looks.
Yeah, they move Luka.
So in the short term, next year that trade has to pay off.
It won't.
Right? It has to pay off in a championship. Or
I don't know how.
I don't think it will.
You might be the only person I've heard say that you were on board with it. Like I haven't heard a single. And then you hear the way Nico Harrison treated Luka and like all those other things, like what they were doing about planting stories and all these other things. Like how do you? I don't know how you walk away from a player like Luka. Even Anthony Davis is a great player. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, you have an organization that's built around this guy. You bring in Jason Kidd, and like, the whole style of play changes. And like, I don't know. Like, I think there were some questionable decisions made across the board.
I don't deny Luka's talent. I deny his commitment. And that's why I was on board with right. If they're in the building, what do you know in the building about his commitment?
I know nothing.
Right?
So
I'm saying
I don't know
that's
anything.
what I'm like. If the new ownership are comfortable making that decision, they're in the building. No matter what we see as fans, and we know how talented he is, they know his commitment. You don't know what somebody's going to do until shit hits the fan, and they've seen things hit the fan and seen how he reacts. So that was a move that they told me they don't like what they see. That's like saying, hey, you have to be perfect girlfriend, perfect wife. Why are you getting a divorce?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know all the other stuff.
You don't know
when the door. You know what all the other stuff. That's the only reason I said I was fine with it, right? I mean, I think Luka is great, but we've been told he's going to be a champion and Hall of Fame and this. And Michael Jordan's my favorite player. I grew up in the 90s.
In Chicago. Right.
I don't like people being crowned before they earn their crown.
Completely fair. So
that was my take on it. But again, the further we get away from it with all these injuries, how bad they're playing, they might have to forfeit games because they financially they don't have the money for it. Like, you were making that trade hoping everything go right without having any contingency plan if it went wrong.
Yeah.
Knowing that Anthony Davis is injury prone.
What if Luka doesn't re-sign in the offseason? There's problems.
Where would he go?
Anywhere he wants to.
There's a lot of suitors.
I'm not saying that there isn't, but I mean, like, from an exposure standpoint, I mean, LeBron already said he's going to play another year, right? So I think they're going to get him at least on another one more year, maybe 1 year with an option.
Yeah, he has 1 year. He has a year left, so they're going to play together next year, which healthy.
I think one or two of them are going to be seriously hurt, and they really won't be playing together.
I mean, how many games has LeBron played in this year? I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I mean, he can't be playing more than if they're doing back to backs. I doubt he's playing both games, right?
I mean, he's on PTO right now,
Yeah, when he helped that kid up at Bryce's game, when he helped the kid up, like, Bryce, there's no way this man has a groin pull. No way. But Steph Curry's about to do the same thing.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
Steph Curry is going to do the same thing. When they started talking last night,
yeah, absolutely.
Steph is emotionally exhausted, not physically. He's going to take time off.
I mean, Steph is older as well. I mean, like, he's been aging too. So I mean, like, that's where you have to find sort of that new younger guy that's going to drive a lot of the.
They got Jimmy. It's okay. It is okay.
Playoff Jimmy, man. Playoff Jimmy's unmatched.
Let's hope.
So I'm a Jimmy Butler fan. That's my favorite player. So, Minnesota messed up when they didn't pay him. Philly messed up when they didn't pay him. Miami messed up when they didn't pay him. Golden State paid him.
Yeah.
All right. And it's the luxury now that you get to sit down Steph to rest one to bounce. They won 14 out of their last 16 games. Right? They got back into playoffs now. They're securely no worse than a 6 seed now. And I don't care what seed they get, as long as they can avoid Denver into the Western Conference Finals, I put my money on them. I don't. They can beat anybody else.
So you got
if Steph gets another ring, where does that put him all time?
He's What do you think, Big Jon? Because then I can say what I'm thinking. If Steph wins number 5 for the thumb, Big Jon.
You go ahead, because I don't know how familiar Adam is with your takes on these things. This is a weekly thing.
I've had Steph top 3 for the last 3 years. I had him top 3 before they won a championship in 2022. I think if he gets number 5, he solidifies that, and then start working on. I mean, I already have him as the greatest point guard of all time. So to me, Steph is just building onto his resume at this point. He'll be the first 6'2" guard or smaller to have 30,000 points. That he's doing stuff that we've never seen. out of any.
He changed the
guard.
game. Like
Yes.
without
Yeah, he
Steph,
changed the
the basketball's a different sport today.
Yeah.
For me, culturally, of the game of basketball, from a cultural standpoint, he's top 3. From who changed the game culturally. From a play style, he's in my top 10. I don't know where. If he wins 5, he'd probably end up in my top 4. I enjoy watching him play.
So Russell had how many rings? He had 9, or I can't even remember.
He had 9 and 1 as a coach. 1 as a player coach, including that.
And you have Jordan with 6. You have LeBron. How many does LeBron have?
4.
Yeah.
Kobe has 4.
4.
Kobe has 5.
No, Kobe has
5. One more than Shaq.
Yeah,
Shaq has 4. He has 5.
Yeah,
So,
3. Yes.
So I see everybody wants to look at Kobe and put like this aura around him, but like it didn't happen as the same way until he died. Like if Kobe was still alive today, like does his aura change over time the way that it has in the last few years? I don't know. Like Steph, I think, has changed the entire game of basketball. There is nobody that has had the influence on the modern game that like Steph Curry has. Even LeBron, given all of his success, no one has changed the game more than Steph Curry. Period. End of story. Not just for men, but for women too.
Yeah, but see, if Kobe was still alive, you would see his impact in the women's game. Right? I think you're going to see over the next couple of years his Mamba girls going to college and dominating because of the work ethic that he instilled in them at a young age. Right? I think if he was still alive, you would see he would be one of the most outspoken advocates for the WNBA. He would be at the games. He'd be talking about it. He'd be having input on should they strike or not. Like he would have been my candidate to say make him the commissioner of the WNBA. Right? Because he's passionate about basketball and he's passionate about the purity skill of basketball. Like this not giving effort, being off back to backs. The man played on one leg on his last game.
Yeah.
This Martin NBA game, he would criticize a lot and a lot of the players.
Yeah. But Adam, I want to introduce you to Hector. He had a comment earlier, and he's here a lot, and I appreciate him. But he likes to downplay Steph Curry. So he'll say here, you know how many greats changed the game? Mike and Wilt, Shaq. But that et cetera should also be Steph Curry.
So Wilt definitely had this level of impact because he was a modern center before modern centers were common, right? Mm-hmm. And no one could stop him. And they just couldn't because he's a freak of nature in a way that not many people were back then.
Wilt is the reason why they shoot free throws the way they do because he used to jump from the free throw line.
Right, exactly. So then you have Shaq, who again revolutionized a lot of the physicality of the game, and like definitely culturally too. Like Shaq was a humongous deal. So yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with Hector, man. Like he's definitely right.
Yeah, he's right, but just don't put that etc. there. Go ahead and put CURRY.
I agree. Like I like my son plays basketball, and like they don't play basketball the way that they did when I was growing up. And I'm not athletic in any way, shape, or form, but like even growing up, the way that we played basketball in youth has changed from the way my son plays now. They all play like Steph Curry. They all just taking threes and jump shots from the outside. Like it's a completely different game.
So I do like Hector real quick coming back saying Curry definitely changed the game, but no one says it if it's for the better.
Very, very key point. Yes.
One of the things.
How could it not be for the better?
I mean, can you watch the NBA right now?
It has nothing to do with Curry. That has something to do with defense and a whole bunch of other stuff we could talk about. That has nothing to do with a man coming out of nowhere that can shoot the three.
Well, everybody thinks they can beat him. So JJ Redick was asked.
That has nothing to do with him. That has something to do with the reaction to how do we stop him. That has nothing to do with his game. Just like in the NFL. Lawrence Taylor was the first walk-up outside linebacker in the history of the NFL.
Mhm.
He didn't ruin the game.
Lawrence
He actually
Taylor,
got a lot of people paid.
Lawrence Taylor made the left tackle the most expensive position in the NFL.
Mhm.
He didn't ruin the game. He just walked up and dominated. Curry came out here. A lot of people forgot about him. He was drafted, 7th pick, and started dominating.
I mean, there's so many people. Like, I mean, Tiger in golf. Like, everything has changed because of Tiger in golf. Like Lawrence Taylor, great example of that.
I still watch pre-fights, and they're imitating Muhammad Ali.
Mhm.
All this shenanigans that's going on, I'm gonna slap you, and people are gonna get in between. That's Muhammad Ali. He didn't ruin the boxing. He actually took it to another level as far as showmanship and marketing. So
Muhammad Ali is one of the most underrated athletes of the 20th century. And like we're going back to cultural impact. Like growing up, like Muhammad, you read books, you see, you know, all of the When We Were Kings, like all of those movies, like what Muhammad Ali did for boxing has never been equaled in any other sport. Like, it's just like, I have nothing but incredible things to say about the impact that Muhammad Ali has had on culture and on boxing and sports in general. There is no one better than Muhammad Ali in anything.
And another thing about basketball to me is when I run into people and they tell me, well, Steph is not a point guard. But the last traditional point guard was Chris Paul. There's no traditional point guard in the NBA today.
I don't know how to define a traditional point guard. So
you look to pass first. You look to make those around you better first. You score less. That's a traditional point guard. Magic Johnson, on the average, 17 points a game his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
That's a traditional point guard. You come out here and you're averaging 25 and more. Dame Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Steph Curry. That's a modern day point guard.
Because you have more of the ball movement through the post. Like, look at what Jokic is doing. Like, he's averaging like 15 assists a game, and he's a big man. Like, that never happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you need a modern point guard anymore when you've got
point at him? This is my point. So, it's just interesting how we're stuck on certain things, and we can't let the game change. But the game is changing.
No one's going to want to watch if it doesn't change, though. So
absolutely.
I mean, the league has been shooting 36% from three for the last 5 years. Is that Steph Curry's fault, or is the fact that you have teams?
You got a lot of
they don't have the players for.
You got a lot of Keontae Georges running around. They're shooting like trash. But we get excited about that, though. We get excited. You know, this guy's shooting 34%. We're excited, but he's shooting like trash. And as soon as that organization finds a replacement, he'll go sit on the bench or he'll be traded.
Oh, Cooper coming next year?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who's slated to get the number one pick to get flag here?
Charlotte, Utah, or Washington, more than likely.
Oh, anybody but Washington, man.
Why?
They're never such a boring team to watch.
It's a pool party. It's a pool party.
If he goes there, it's not going to go well.
No. That is a slow death.
What Washington Wizards rookie has been successful?
I can't name one.
There hasn't been one.
Yeah, so this rookie class is bad when they're still trying to push out Wemby rookies.
More Wemby.
You need to buy something.
Yeah, more rookie symbols.
So who is even in this? Or is it Amon Thompson and Osser? And I don't even know how to say their names. That's how.
You got Alex Sard. You got
the kid
playing.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I can't even name a rookie in this class. I'm sorry.
That's also a thing that brought me to wrestling cards, because the rookie isn't the most important card to have in wrestling as it is in all other sports.
It's a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, rookie
it's
cards
not always. It's not if you you can get a third, fourth year, fifth year card of your favorite player and be happy. You know, you get an out of 99, 10th year, fifth year card of Stephen Curry. It's going for a couple of bucks. Not like, you know, you get a 6-year John Cena card.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like the rookie card isn't the most in all the sports. The rookie card is the most important card.
Absolutely. There's no argument there.
we got Zerny talking about basketball. All positions must be redefined for this generation. This is true. There are no true centers. This is true. Basketball is different today. Well, and because of that, we're asking these guys to step out and take mid-range shots and three-pointers. It's just a different game until you get to the playoffs. Then some things start to even out. John Wall, traditional point guard.
No, Washington rookie had success.
But I mean, okay, I'll give you a few years. Then it was crash and burn time. When he did that Dougie, wasn't too much upside after that.
I remember seeing them lose to
It's
South
worth
Carolina.
mentioning that I was in college when John Wall was a rookie. So I mean, like that was a very, very long time ago.
So was I. I remember watching Kentucky come to Columbia, South Carolina, and lose to Bruce Ellington-led South Carolina basketball team. And if you don't know who Bruce Ellington was, he was the slot receiver, slot receiver for the football team. And South Carolina was unranked and beat them. So.
Hector comes back and says 6.1 assists per game. There are 17 players ahead of Curry in assists. Best shooter, yes. Again, Hector, you're holding on to who? No one gives a damn about assists. Every night, you're not going to come out and average big-time assists. Again, name a point guard that's doing that. I don't know that play. I don't know who that player is today. And these offenses who are now, as we talked about, who shoot the three, are not worried about assists when it comes to analytics in the game.
No.
Celtics
goal is to shoot 35 or more threes per game.
Great team. And who's their point guard?
Derek White.
That can't
How many assists?
Is Derek White really their point guard?
Yeah.
He plays it. And how many assists does he average a game? Nobody cares about that. It's the floor of the offense, where you're shooting from, grabbing boards, what you do after that, how you play defense. That's the amount of the game. I'm off my Curry soapbox.
Okay.
Just a little bias, right? You can't just tell. So Timberwolves fan. So are you excited? But Vikings fan moving to football with the draft coming up. Are you McCarthy or you want Aaron Rodgers?
McCarthy. If Aaron Rodgers is on our roster, I'm not watching him.
I can respect that.
He is a the things like, I'm sorry, you know.
You can go ahead and unleash at him. Don't hold back.
No.
The things Aaron Rodgers wants to put out into the universe is just absolute horseshit. Like, as a human being, he is horseshit. Mm-hmm. And I can't separate the art from the artist. Like, I just can't. It's just not in my blood. And I don't need a quarterback who goes on Joe Rogan and spouts the shit that he spouts. Like, I'm sorry. I don't need that. I'm not going to cheer for that.
I find it hilarious in how his career is literally following Brett Favre.
You know what I was just about to say? I think when he saw Brett Favre, the helicopters, the coaches, the players coming in to sign Favre and talk to him, I think he wants that. I think he wants people to really want him and show their appreciation for him to even talk to them, the Steelers or whoever else, that he's dominated by that.
So it's going to take what? $30 million a year to sign him. You have to give him at least 2 years. Vikings have an insane amount of money in the salary cap to play with, so they could definitely afford him. But I would much rather take advantage of the time when you're paying your starting quarterback nothing. Because look at what Patty Mahomes just signed. Look at what All these guys are signing. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both signed $100 million deals. Like, you just signed JJ, you sign all these guys. Use that time where you don't have to pay your quarterback and where you finally get Kirk Cousins off your books. You finally get that to happen. Like, why are you going right back into the same goddamn situation with Aaron Rodgers? Like, it is a terrible, terrible decision, considering how he played in New York, considering how he played in his last year at Green Bay. Like, people can say, well, he still threw 30 touchdown passes and, 10 interceptions. He was an MVP level season. It's like, yeah, but like, he's only doing that because they're playing from behind every single game. Like, it's like if they had any type of lead, those stats are much different.
So who are the other options though? You got McCarthy and who else?
No one. It's McCarthy and no one.
I think this is why they're doing that, because and then he'll still put butts in seats. But to me, at the end of the day, Justin Jefferson will suffer.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Hawkinson, they have Jordan Addison, who's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have offensive weapons coming out of their ears. But then their like Brian Flores is a magician. Like, their defensive coordinator is a magician.
Yeah.
And like he created like a number one defense from a bunch of scrubs. And like, it's like, and why are you wasting that with Aaron Rodgers? Like, he's not going to elevate you the way you think he will.
So Hector has a question here. He says, why do great players like Favre and Rodgers stain their legacy with off-field shenanigans?
I would love to know the answer, and I think most of America would like to know that as
well.
well.
I believe there are 3 stages of an athlete. This is my rationale. Where you're trying to get the big paycheck. So you became a draft pick. You're working up to the big paycheck. Now you're trying to get that max money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get that second big contract. And then after that, you're just robbing the bank. You're picking up checks. You will not leave the game because you're picking up checks that you know you don't deserve, but it's owed to you because of what you have contributed to the sport. So other teams will be interested in you, but your play has declined and you'll keep picking up money because it's going to be available.
I mean,
call your phone.
Let's be fair here. Favre was a shit human being from like the beginning to the end of his career. Like, that was not a unique situation that happened just because he left football. Mm-hmm. Rodgers, on the other hand, he married this woman. She's an actress. I can't think of her name.
Rodgers got married?
He didn't marry, they dated.
He's not anymore. They got divorced. But this woman he married, she's an actress, and she's batshit crazy, and like rubbed off on him in all the wrong ways. I mean, he went from like hosting Jeopardy to like hosting conspiracy theory podcasts on YouTube. Like, there's a definite fall off there.
I think, right, from the athlete standpoint, it's ego, right?
Oh yeah.
You think 100%. You have the ability to get away with these things because you are who you are. And then from the team structure standpoint, right, it's been proven in the NFL, your best chance of winning is when it's on a rookie quarterback deal.
Yes.
That is your best chance of winning.
Yes.
Right? Or in between that second, like Philadelphia just won, but Hurts is on his second contract where he took a little bit less. Right?
Because he's smart.
If your quarterback doesn't take less, you've seen it with Brady. You've seen Patrick Mahomes restructure his contract to get a little bit less, right? If all your money, if 30% of your money is tied into your quarterback position, you don't really have a chance to make the Super Bowl.
So think about Cincinnati now that we say this.
Oh my God!
Think about
Cincinnati. Defense.
They're not doing anything.
They signed Burrow for record money, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, great receivers, but your defense prevented you from winning last year.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right. So these are the things that sound good, look good in the papers, put butts in seats, and make people watch, generate that money, but they're not interested in winning. Big Jon and I looked at about a month ago now that average franchises still grow 13 to 15% per year, no matter what their record is.
Oh yeah, look at the Jaguars.
Yeah. They don't care. And they're going to move T-Law and bring somebody else in to still put butts in seats and make people watch.
They're going to move Trevor Lawrence, really?
At some point, yes.
Oh, at some point.
He has to
They won't
go.
be able to afford to keep him now.
Yeah, he has to go.
I mean, they should because he ain't done nothing to earn a big contract. But like the way these, bargaining deals are set up, you're the next one up. You're the next one up. I don't think Jamar Chase should be making more than Justin Jefferson. I think Jefferson's the better receiver of the two.
His day is coming now.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with
that. That is the only good thing you're gonna get me to say about a Minnesota player either. Okay, because I'm Chicago Bears down.
Well, no, like I don't have any problem with Jamar Chase getting paid. T. Higgins, on the other chance, like use that money to get a defensive player or three.
Yeah, because you could have traded T. Higgins last year and got a defensive player, got a draft pick, and still got the same production out of your second receiver.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that Joe Burrow is an incredible quarterback.
Right.
Like it does. He's going to distribute the ball. It's not a big deal. You have a solid number one in Chase. Why are you paying T. Higgins that kind of money?
Not that he earned his money, but
you have no defense.
Listen, I can't talk, right? My quarterback is Caleb Williams, and my best receiver regressed underneath him. So, like, I don't know how you go DJ Moore having a career year to having half the stats.
Now they're going to try to sell us on we went out and got a few offensive linemen, and Caleb Williams is going to play better.
Hey, Joe,
and we both know if he hasn't worked on his footwork, same old. I don't trust Ryan Pace's ability to know what a good lineman is because he was a sucky one himself.
Well, where are they picking this year?
10th. They're picking 10.
They'll get a lineman.
Well, they grabbed the center from Kansas City. They a guard from another team and a right guard from another team. So they're solidified their line according to them. And they are probably going to get a running back with this first pick.
They're going to draft a running back at 10?
They should, because I don't know who thought Swift was going to be good in that system. I just don't know.
Back too.
You can draft a running back in like the third round and get the same production.
It's a deep running back draft. I'm just like I don't know. Like they need a lineman. They need some defensive linemen. And the problem is they had a great defense last year. They ended up having a very good defense second half of the year, especially with the corners and safeties that they have. But the
linebackers are good too.
Yeah, they are good. But you know what? They don't have a middle linebacker that control the defense like the Chicago Bears team is structured, right? From a soul of the franchise, you go Roquan Smith, Urlacher, Mike Ditka, Mike Singletary. The soul of the defense, no matter how good your safeties and your corners are, the soul of that defense is the middle linebacker position.
There's no Urlacher.
Yeah, there's no Urlacher. And again, another questionable human being, but he's a great linebacker.
On many levels.
On many levels.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that has to do with all the head injuries.
His son is at Notre Dame. He's not a bad player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Pretty good player.
And Ryan Clark's son. They both play on defense together. They're good players.
It's funny how that works.
So kind of switching back to what I would say, especially with wrestling, right? I got a couple questions. You do a lot of research.
Yes.
Like, how do you go starting your research from your cards to not even to like what you're writing about on an almost daily basis in the Patreon group? I would admit, like, I was forever against signing up for a Patreon group because I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay to read information.
Well, that's why I did it free.
I signed up for for and I thoroughly enjoy reading articles and listening to the 5 minutes. Like the insight and this kind of the research you do from not just like a card pricing, but like history of cards. Why are these cards going up? What makes them appealing? Like, how do you just sit back and think, well, and start your process of research? We're big on research before we purchase stuff and cards. So what do you like? How that background and that skill develop?
I mean, so for me, it's been years and years of being just completely surrounded with it. And like I'm terminally online, so like I work in IT, so I'm always in front of a computer and always on these long conference calls. So like I spend a lot of time like reading and listening to content when I'm driving my kid to baseball practice every day.
Mhm.
So like I consume as much like specific information about wrestling as I can, and it's because it's just my nature. Like I have to know as much as possible. Plus, like I know all the guys who run the companies too. So like I have really close relationships with Topps and Panini, and we talk a lot, and so I get to understand the why as much as the how, and it gives me a little bit of a different perspective on things. Like I'm trying to not react emotionally the way that a lot of people do. Like for instance, like I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this company's just trying to make money when they're doing this." Well, of course they are. They're a business. Like, what do you want them to just like? Oh, I'm not going to make this $1 million over here. I'm just going to leave that because I don't want to piss off some guy on Twitter, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like I try and understand it from the perspective of like if I were looking at this objectively and not emotionally, like how would this tend to be? And then after I do that, then I start looking at it from an emotional perspective as well. Like, okay, I love shiny cards. So why do I love shiny cards? What does that mean for my collecting journey as I go through and buy all this stuff that, shows up at my door 20 times a week, right? Like, so it's like collecting is always going to have an emotional component, but if you only look at it from that perspective, you're missing out on like this whole other thing of like what the data is showing, like all these other things that you can look at. And the best part about it is these tools are out there and available in ways that they were never out there and available when I was younger, right? We never had a card ladder. We never had like the tools that showed you what everything used to sell for. And so like now that we're in this digital age of like, hey, everything's got to have a price, everything's got to have a value. Like there's an emotional connection too, which a lot of collectors used to use to like fuel their passion for collecting cards. But if you think about it, like there's all of this other information out there that very few people have the ability to do the research or have the years and years and years of experience of how this has gone in other sports to be able to apply it to a brand new niche, right? So yeah, I mean, like when I sit in front of my computer, like what am I going to write about today? Like thankfully there's no shortage of news stories, but also it's like how do I provide information to people that's valuable so that I want to make it free because I don't want people to feel obligated to pay me for my unprofessional expertise, right? I don't do this for a living. So like why should you pay me any money for this? Like you want to support and click the button, by all means. I'm not going to say no, but like if you want to join for free and get all the benefits of the people who pay, then that's what it's there for. It's meant to be a resource. It's not meant to be a service, right?
And it's a good resource. It's a good community too. Like I've posted in there a couple times. Seen people post their cards, their pickups. But I think like the impact is us. Why are wrestling cards? It's not. Oh, wrestling cards are. You use these podcasts and say, "Oh, wrestling cards are the next wave." They are going up. But you sit back, well, yeah, they're going up, but they're not going up exponentially to where people make it seem, right? I think we have like, what's the biggest card that sold? Was it one of the Rock 101s?
One of them, yeah.
That wasn't $1 million card, was it?
No, it was so like the Prism 1/1 Black Rock sold for $126,000 a couple of years ago.
Right.
And he just had another one sell. One of the guys who does a podcast for wrestling cards actually pulled like the 1/1 from Topps Chrome, and it sold for close to that amount of money too. But I think like it's not like they're not having like a LeBron James like $4 million card sell. Like we haven't gotten to that level yet, right? There's no Jordan exquisite example in wrestling quite yet. But we're heading that direction. Like Topps is trying to create those cards. And like I think you can look at other small niche hobby areas that have soccer, F1, whatever you want to talk about, where these mega sales have come through. But a lot of them are global audiences that have roots in either Asia or the richest parts of Europe. And these people buy $1 million watches, why not buy $1 million sports card, right? So I think wrestling is still very much low level income sort of individuals, right? They're like, if you go back to the territory days, it's all a bunch of rednecks going to these events. And if you go to like Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, it's a lot of families and kids. Like, they're not people that are out there, with affluent backgrounds where they're spending thousands and thousands and thousands on cards. But the thing that I think is an indicator of why wrestling cards are becoming more expensive is because you see these people who are paying to go to WrestleMania. They are paying to get the ornate championship belt and pay to get it signed and all the photo opportunities. Like, these people spend thousands of dollars, and Topps is starting to recognize, hey, if we can capture some of those people to buy cards, all of a sudden the demand changes in this industry in a way that we've never been able to accomplish before.
I've always said, once wrestling fans who spend the $400 to $1,000 on belts realize they can collect their favorite player or favorite wrestler for a fraction of the price, these cards will go up exponentially, because you go to a show of 30,000 people, about 5,000-6,000 have belts on their shoulder.
Absolutely.
And we're talking $400 to at the starting price of these belts. So I think the more exposure it gets, the more opportunity it has. And it doesn't matter if these wrestlers get injured, because they can still be on the show injured, right? Yeah. They can still show up injured. And when they take time off, they're more popular when they come back.
Yeah.
Seeing Alexa Bliss at Royal Rumble, amazing surprise.
Got a comment from Hector. Hector says, imagine a WrestleMania match use patch card.
So that's in the most recent sets, they've cut up the mat that is used at WrestleMania and they put it in cards. And then Topps has been doing these debut patches for the Paul Skeens card that everybody's been talking about. I would venture a guess that they're going to do something like that for wrestling too. And so WrestleMania, like, they already have done these Topps Now cards where they've got a piece of John Cena's shirt or whatever they put in the cards. Like, that's all coming and planned and previewed. So yes, that is all going to happen.
He also says, seems like people hit an age when they collect their childhood memories and prices rise. What will you buy 20 years from now? Fortnite cards.
Fortnite cards are already expensive.
Yes, they are.
I mean, look at what happened to Pokemon. Like, you can't go to, like, I was at Costco a couple of days ago trying to buy some stuff for my family, some snacks and shit, and like they had like a guy with like a forklift like come out with like Pokemon cards, and there were like people like waiting out the door to like go and rush this display. And I'm just like, oh my, are Pokemon cards really worth like that? And then I went and started watching videos and I was like, these are insanely expensive cards.
Mm-hmm.
True. But what will people be buying 20 years from now? I don't know. It's very hard to predict.
I think there are a lot of people who are asking that question and making guesses. Mm-hmm. So like, if you look at like let's take Michael Jordan for an example, or LeBron James, because they've been around for 20 years. Like, a lot of the cards that were released in the late 90s, early 2000s, they are the most desirable, valuable cards right now. I don't like those cards because I think they look weird, but like every single other collector on the planet goes after those cards. And so people are trying to guess what the next version of those cards is going to be. And they're buying all sorts of stuff that they predict will be the next version of that, whether it's, the Prism cards, the National Treasures logo men, like whatever it is that you want to buy. Like, people are making very big investments to get ahead of that now more than they ever have.
So in the next 20 years, I may sound very pessimistic here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see two things. I don't think Luka Doncic is going to win a championship. So I think his market is going to bottom out somewhere really low. And people are going to be shocked and probably upset about that. And I also think there's going to be a scandal that's going to hit sports that's going to affect another athlete's cards. Big John's laughing. Big John's laughing.
That's not a guess. That's a certainty.
Big scandal is coming, and a lot of people get their feelings hurt.
That happens yearly, man. Like, look at what happened with Wander Franco.
This is going to be next level.
I mean, you may have mentioned the athlete he's talking about. You know, some may consider him the GOAT.
Allegedly.
Out of here. Allegedly, though.
Respectfully.
I'm out of the loop.
Oh, you know, you don't last 20-something years at the top of basketball for no reason, you know.
You didn't eat Wheaties and drink good water.
Oh, for Jordan?
No.
There's going to be a Jordan scandal?
One LeBron.
Oh, LeBron scandal.
Or a LeBron scandal?
I think those two things will happen. Luka won't win a championship, and there will be a scandal, and then things will level set.
I think Hector hit on the third scandal, a big gambling scandal. Everybody being in bed with each other.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't think Hector's far off there.
I mean, Jordan by himself could be a gambling scandal.
Yeah, he could be.
Oh, definitely.
Could be.
Them Jordan Barkley Vegas stories are legendary.
And Tiger Woods in there too now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Adam, how do you get your card, your collection? Because you have a lot of 1-on-1s out of 5s out of 10. Is it just because of the community and the relationship you built with other collectors? Or are you doing breaks? Are you opening packs? Are you just buying singles on eBay? How are you sourcing this collection?
It's a job, man. So like I spend enough time on this that it could be another job. Community is a huge help. I mean, I get a ton of people, you know, with eyes out there saying, hey, this person pulled this card, go reach out to them. I couldn't do a lot of what I do without the community, which is awesome. We all cheer for each other. We try and help each other out. So like we look out for cards that, you know, like I've created like a list that you can look for on Google Sheets. It's linked on my website, but it just lists everybody's collection. So if you ever pull like you know, Austin Theory or name some Chad Gable or whoever, like you can look on the list and see who the big collector is for that person. Like, so, I mean, everybody collects somebody, right? And even the jobbers have collectors. So like, it's like the community looks out for each other, but I do a ton of breaks. I'm addicted. I'm a gambler in that respect. I spend way too much money breaking, and because like unlike wrestling, unlike baseball and football and all these other cards, like it's hard to walk into a hobby shop where they have just this wide range of selection of cards that you can buy. Like maybe there's a couple of boxes on the shelf, but there's never like a case full of singles. Like you go to a card show, like there's never like there may be like 1 or 2 tables out of 300 that have wrestling cards. So like I have to break, or I have to rely on the community or scour eBay 25 times a day, like trying to find these cards, because there's competition too. Like I'm not the only person that wants to buy Becky Lynch. She's one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. So like there's other people who want to buy her cards too. So if I'm not fast, they get bought up. But luckily I have support from a lot of different people who will, hey, go talk to this guy, and it's awesome. It's so much fun. That's what makes it fun. So I do all of those things. I spend way too much money and way too much time.
So where are you breaking at? Is it Whatnot? It's Fanatics Live?
Yeah.
Is it Drip? Is it all above?
So I like historically, it's been like over the last probably 3-4 years, like Whatnot has been a huge part of wrestling breaks. I'm trying to get off that platform as much as possible these days because I just hate the way that platform functions, and the people that they let on that platform are terrible people. So I don't like that they're supporting those individuals. But you know, Fanatics Live, I've been doing a lot more since Topps took back over, because people on Fanatics Live have usually cheaper prices and stuff like that. So it's easier to get access to stuff. But yeah, I do both of those. And YouTube, there's a couple of breakers on YouTube that I do some work with, because they're really good at what they do and their prices are great. So usually it's just whoever is breaking the most product in volume, that's usually where I'm at.
So I know you break with RBR Crew. So
yes, he's a great guy.
I haven't break. So you're doing just straight player case breaks or wrestling?
Yeah, I don't break unless it's a straight player break.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're not offering full cases with pick your single wrestler, I don't buy in.
Okay.
Because I only collect one person, so it doesn't make sense for me to go buy slots for, hey, let's do a random serial number or a random pack. Like that doesn't really help me because I only collect one person.
Hector had a comment here. You see those Pokemon vending machines at grocery stores? Topps should do that. I know.
So in the Mall of America, I just posted on Twitter, they opened a vending machine in the Mall of America that does exactly that in Minnesota. And I was just at a mall in Boston here where I am for work, and there's a vending machine in the mall in Boston here too. It's crazy.
Oh, you right up the road from me.
It's in my new grocery store as well.
Yep. They're expensive. That's the only thing. Like buying packs from those things, there's a lot of overheads. They charge you a lot of money for the packs. But Topps, they're not run by Topps. They're run by companies that are buying the packs and putting them in the vending machines. But yeah, I've seen them all over the place.
Yeah, going back to breaking. I'm with you. Like I have been off of Whatnot ever since the backyard breaks thing. I spent $1 because I had a friend doing a WBA break. I spent $1 on it. It's the only thing I spent. Kind of staunch on just trying to find other places to break. I just don't like, for some reason, I just don't like the layout of Fanatics Live, so I can't spend as much time on it as I do on Whatnot. Yeah, it's gonna take a while to get used to that layout. Yes. And I do like some of the breakers on there. Sports Card Nonsense, Mama Breaks. So I on it. I just can't spend as much time as I would just sit in a Whatnot room. What I do dislike about wrestling breaks is how long the player breaks take to fill in a lot. It is awful. I just don't think a lot of breakers realize you're going to lose money on the Tozawa spots. You're on the jobber spots, you're going to lose money on it, and just accept it and get to breaking.
Yeah,
because they're not desired wrestlers, and they have the smallest pool of people trying to collect that one player, or that one wrestler. And you're going to make your money on the Roman Reigns, the Rhea Ripleys, the Bianca Belairs, Becky Lynch, Jade Carter. On the main eventers, you're going to make your money. They don't seem to, like, if you look at other sports, nobody's buying the White Sox in a break. Okay, look, I'll eat that spot, and let's get to breaking. It's like when it comes to WWE, they need to make every single dollar off of every single person. Like, it's just not going to happen.
It's frustrating as hell. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, MC doesn't break, so he doesn't understand these frustrations.
A couple of times, but no, not a right. No.
I mean, like sitting in a Whatnot room in general is like, I'll use an example of like when you go to a movie and you're waiting for the movie to start, and you're sitting there and you've got your popcorn, you've got your soda, you're sitting there, and it's like you got there really early. That's what it feels like to sit in a Whatnot room, because you want the movie to start. You want to watch the movie. Everybody's there to watch the movie, but you're sitting in this empty theater by yourself with a popcorn or your person sitting next to you, and you're just like, can the movie start already? Like, that's how I feel. Like, that's the way it feels to me. It's awful. It's the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah, it is so frustrating. And for me, I usually break this time of night when I have time to actually pay attention. And it's like, okay, I'm not, is it going to start the next hour? If not, I'm going to bed. Yeah. And I just hope I get the cards I get. Luckily, again, I'm getting Montez Ford spot, so nobody's trying to keep those cards on me. So we go look over the singles market, right? Are you using Card Ladder, Market Mover, something to just keep up on that?
Card Ladder I use that religiously. Not a huge fan of Jeff Wilson, so I'm not on Market Movers, but Card Ladder is an invaluable tool for researching stuff and finding out values. Like, there's nothing better. And like, you can use Terapeak if you're on eBay and stuff like that. I just don't think it's as intuitive. But like all the index graphs and stuff like that Card Ladder does. Plus, I've talked to their team, and they seem like they know what they're doing more than a lot of these other people. They're not just paying for an API to plug into eBay. Like they're actually like they understand the data element of cards and value. So, it's an invaluable tool. But I also just talk to people. I see cards sell on Facebook. Facebook's a huge part of it. I hate doing deals on Facebook, but watching Facebook is really helpful to see sort of where the masses are moving. There are card groups that have like hundreds of thousands of people join, so you get to see like this giant public surge of people trying to sell and buy cards. But for wrestling, it's there's groups like that too, and so it's easy to pick up on trends when you see people either trying to sell everything in the same type of vein, or you try and like see people trying to look for stuff because people will post like, hey, I'm looking for this. So if you start to see things sort of pile on top of each other, it's easy to see where the masses are going just by watching Facebook groups. But yeah, Whatnot, break slots too. Like you can see how things are going. So I try and again, I'm terminally online. So it's unfortunate that so much of my life is in front of a computer screen, but I can really pay attention to a lot of these things. And I try and share as much of that detail as I can in my site, but you really have to want to sit down and read a wrestling card article the way that I write it because it's so long and stuff. I realize I probably lose people about halfway through a lot of these posts, but yeah, I mean, if you're doing the research and you're really sort of finding ways to be helpful to your own sort of collection, you'll come out ahead. And I think more people that realize that are the people that do well in cards, are like the people that really understand how to track data and then sales and stuff.
I agree. I can tell you what's frustrating for me as a wrestling collector is like when I buy a card. So like say if I buy a card out of 99 and I got it for $20, then I see the card I need to continue this rainbow, continue collecting. It's out of $2.99. You want $40 for it. It's like it's not worth that much.
Yeah, that's my life.
It's your wish is not worth that much. I can't force myself. Like I'm looking for the Phoenix Auto 101 for Montez Ford, but it took me.
I'm looking for the Becky too. Yeah,
it took me a year. I got the 10 gold out of 10 for $25, and they graded at 1010 with SGC. And it took me a year to get the red and the base, which are both not numbered, because everybody wanted double the price.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm waiting this out. Off of principle. Like that was just off of principle.
I think a lot of it has to do with people don't understand the level of audience. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a post on the site recently about as you go up the value spectrum, fewer and fewer people are going to be interested in your cards. Yeah. And so, but people, it doesn't stop them from thinking they can get a payday even on a card that's really common, right? So that's the whole thing is people don't realize how important it is to build relationships and build a sort of that community aspect of it more so than it is making every last dollar that you can. Like you sell a $25 card for $15 because the guy collects Montez Ford, that $10, what are you going to do with it? Go buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks? People are so conscious of these tiny amounts of money. And it's just better to create a relationship with another person and give them a deal that you both can walk away with what you're looking for, money on one side and the card on the other. As long as you're not selling a $25 card for $1, no one is going to be broken in this hobby by $25. People lose sight of that way too much.
Way too much. Now, are you big on grading your PC?
No.
Or why not? I'm interested in this.
Oh, this is a long conversation. Grading is a business, and people look at grading like it has to happen for their cards to be sold at a price that they want. And for the most part, in today's hobby, they're probably correct. But they don't understand that as an individual, you are already at a disadvantage because you're not this you're monolithic grading service that sends all of their cards to PSA and sends all of their cards to SGC. You're literally just a guy. Now that just a guy can get lucky and get 10s and whatever, but the whole grading business to me it seems like it's run off of a subjective opinion, and people are assigning, I don't know, what was that car? One of the cards, like the Kobe Bryant black label, whatever, like sold for back in 21, like millions of dollars. Only because that guy at Beckett that one day had maybe he got a nice night with his girlfriend the night before, so he comes into work feeling great, and he's like, yeah, I'll give this one a 10. Like no one's gonna question him. Like once it's in the holder, it's forever that great. Yeah. And like this creation of hyper mint cards, right? So like it's not it can't just be mint, it has to be gem mint. And like it's a marketing gimmick, and I'm in marketing, so I know how this all works. Like all it is marketing. And what they're trying to do is to get you to spend more money with their company, to the point now where if you send in a card and you pay them their grading fee and it's worth more because they assign a better grade, you have to pay them more money. Like that's insane to me. Like if I go to a car dealership and I buy a car, and for whatever reason that value of the car goes up, it's not like I have to go back to the dealership and give them additional money for what I just bought. Like this is a whole marketing like gimmick. That's what grading is, and I refuse to subscribe to it.
So I cannot stand the upcharge. I grade cards, 2 or 3 cards a month. For those cards, I tend to sell to buy more PC cards, whether it's Kobe White, Jimmy Butler,
exactly. So if you're doing it to create opportunities for yourself, it's a little different, right?
Right. It's not, but like I like gold cards in the SGC slab. It pops better off the black to me.
Yeah. No,
I like
disagreeing.
Yeah, I like my tie dyes in a PSA slab. So that's just like personal preference. So I understand where you're coming from there. FG?
I grade select cards that I buy as individual cards. So it all depends on what the card is. I do have some that, depending on their condition, probably won't be graded. But I jump in that pool.
Yeah, most of my cards aren't graded. If I buy them graded, I'll keep them in the slab if they're too expensive for me to risk to break out. Otherwise they're all in top loaders and one touches.
But I think that's what's so cool about the hobby is that it can be made what you want it to be.
Of course, that's what's beautiful.
Cool part, bro. Yeah.
Sure.
I know comic book people that will never grade a comic book.
Well, they want to read it, right? Or whatever it is that they want to do. Yeah.
All right. So we got a question. Hector says, newbie, who is the all-time Mickey Mantle of wrestling hobby? Is it Hulk Hogan? No.
I really, really hate Hulk Hogan as a person. And like he, from a standpoint of like past eras coming into value today, Hulk Hogan and Mickey Mantle are probably a good comparison. I just think he is a despicable person in a lot of different ways. And like I said, I can't separate the art from the artist. So yes, you're probably correct, but I hate to admit it.
I've seen some really good Hulk Hogan cards at shows here. They look really well. I can't stand Hulk Hogan to save my life as well. He was like, I grew up on wrestling because my grandma watched wrestling, and that was one of her favorites. And then it became John Cena, Undertaker. So I would say, for me, the Undertaker would be my version of Mickey Mantle, right? Because he was great for a long time, even when he got older, and he's still active as far as coming into the business and being alive. And I don't have that personal dislike of the Undertaker, right? Undertaker auto should be way more expensive than what it is, in my opinion.
I think Undertaker is an important piece of what made WWE successful, and the longevity of his career was some of the major reasons why he's so important to the business. I mean, like, I think, like, if we're talking about people that are undervalued, I mean, John Cena by a mile is undervalued. Roman Reigns completely undervalued. Like these guys are goats of their era, and they're still not getting the same amount of money that Alexa Bliss is getting, right? So,
Well, you know why that is, right?
There's two reasons why that is.
The women in the hobby, the women in wrestling sell way more in the hobby than the men do.
Yes, they do. Especially the blonde. The blonde ones like Alexa Bliss, yes, there are two reasons why she is worth a lot of money. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think Hulk Hogan? People don't like. The Tecker says here, hate Hulk Hogan too. I collect magazines, so wanted to get best vintage investment for that. But do you think it's just because he stuck around too long?
Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
No, not at all. It has everything to do with that he is. I mean,
a racist.
He's a racist.
You know what I'm saying? But we didn't know that 15 years ago.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
I didn't hear anybody saying that 15 years ago.
I mean, historically, wrestling has been one of the most racist businesses that exists besides NASCAR.
Yeah, but you still had your Mad Dogs, you still had your characters. But I didn't hear people on TV on a regular saying, Hulk Hogan is a racist.
Yeah, there wasn't social media though. That's why. Because now that there's social media, everything is out there. Yeah.
This is my point. So has he stuck around too long?
I think he has definitely made his own bed in a lot of ways. Now he has to sleep in it for sure.
Yeah. Macho says late to the party, but we rolling. What's up, Machado?
WWF.
So with Hulk Hogan, there was a lot of suspicion, but when you had the recording of him coming out talking about The Rock and how he would never let his date or daughter be cut and using the N-word, that sealed his fate. Right?
Yes.
That sealed his fate. Not to mention some of the locker room stories you heard about Hulk Hogan pulling pranks and doing stuff like, But Batista's another one that if it wasn't for his acting career, he would not be looked at favorably because he was misogynist, he was bully, doing some gnarly things to people's bags and but that was all fostered by Vince McMahon.
Yeah, the atmosphere in those eras was definitely something that caused a number of problems, and Vince McMahon himself has a lot of things to answer to, and he has. So I'm glad he's gone. But it's a tough situation because like every wrestler from that era has something, but like they've all relatively owned up to it except for Hogan and Flair. Like Hogan and Flair have been unapologetic about the way that they've acted, and like that's what has also rubbed people even further the wrong way. Is like, hey, Stone Cold Steve Austin is out there, he's domestic abuse and hit his wife and stuff and like terrible things, but he's come out and talked about like how wrong he was, and he's been very apologetic for it, and he's tried to move on. And so I think like that really sort of has brought him back into the good graces of a lot of people, where Hogan is completely unapologetic and doubling down on a lot of this stuff. And it's just, people don't like that. It's in today's era where, we're not going to tolerate that type of behavior, especially from people, who are well past their prime, as FD was saying, like, why even waste your time?
Mm-hmm. And every TriStar show I've been to, when they name Hulk Hogan to sign autographs, the line is long.
Yeah, he signs every month in Florida, and there are people who will fly to Florida every single week or every single month, get in that line. He signed more autographs than any wrestler besides John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And John Cena only does it because he loves the fans, and except for recently, but historically he's loved the fans, and he's made himself the fans sort of guy. And they like the WWF and the WWE together as one organization has made it so that their wrestlers are keenly aware of how to engage with the fan base, and they make it an entire focus of of everything to be good to the fans, sign for the fans, do everything. But Hogan signed so much stuff, his signature might as well be valueless.
Yeah.
But because there are so many people out there who have this nostalgia tied to the 80s, like they still want to go and be a part of it. So that line's going to be long for until he dies.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right. We got some late people in here.
We got Jordan. Jordan, what's up, man? What's going on?
So, Machado has a good question, right? And I'll say like this. With the end of the Panini era in WWE, with WWE, and the beginning of the Topps era, what are some of the good things Panini did, and what are some of the bad things that you hope Topps can change around and capitalize on?
So Panini was so Topps had the license prior to Panini. So before 2022, Topps had it for over 2 decades, right? So you can go back to like 1998 and there are Topps wrestling cards from way back when. Topps always treated WWE like it was the bottom rung on the ladder. So like we got the leftovers, and Panini was the first ones to really come in 22 and like show people wrestling cards are worth your time. So they put like awesome patches and autographs and everything. Like they made the WWE products very similar to what they were doing in football and basketball, which is just like, you know, they made them worth your time. Where Panini really struggled is like they weren't tied in with WWE the way that Topps is. So Fanatics and WWE have this like partnership that's like this. And so Topps can get things done more easily. They can have more access. Panini never had any of that, but still found ways to make the cards special. Inscriptions, cool patches, multi-sign cards. If like bringing back people who had never signed, like Batista, you mentioned, like before Panini got him to sign, like he hadn't signed cards in like 10 years. So like there's all these different people they're bringing back, ECW guys. Like if they were part of WWE at some point, like they signed for Panini. Like they even did like a Shockmaster autograph card. Like it was crazy. But what Topps is going to do is like completely change the way that wrestling cards are brought to the public because of the access that they have to people inside of WWE, like The Rock or, you know, John Cena or whoever. Like they'll get stuff that was used on TV. They'll get stuff that was used in pay-per-views. It's not just like the mat that's cut up and put into cards. They're talking about like actual gear and t-shirts and stuff that they've worn on TV. Like that stuff Panini never really could figure out.
Jordan says, yep, that first year Prism was crazy. And then we got 4 autos and then 2 and then 1.
That first year of Prism was nuts. Because remember back in 22, like the hobby was still like way up here and it was on its way down. And now it's kind of coming back up. But like when Prism was announced, like remember they had UFC announced right then. They had all these brands, and Prism was always the first product that they brought to the market, and people just ate it up. And so there were only 2 autos in that original box, not 4, but like the product itself was an event, right? It was like everybody was so excited. And then, you know, over time, it's like the first is always the best, right? It's like the rookie card, right? It was the rookie card of Prism. It's never going to equal that again, but they did an awesome job in 24. The product was so cool in 2024. And I think it, from a sales volume and from a, like, an average sale price, it was actually better than 22. So they really brought it at the end of the license.
You know, the Flawless was nice, and Pepwell was nice.
Awesome, yeah.
I think Panini did some very good. I still have a couple boxes of original Prism on Fanatics Collect to save, and I want to send them home and open them so bad, but I'm just kind of keep it outside of mind and see where it goes. I think when we look back 20 years, that first year Prism, you know, it's going to have some value to it.
Yeah, always. And there's only 3 years of it. So, like, you talk about, like, Steph Curry's had 15 different Prism cards, right? So, like, The Rock's only had 3. Like, I mean, like there's so few of it to go around, but the hobby puts this huge value on Prism that people will want to come back and back. But there's only 3 years of it. There's only 30 golds. There's only, so many cards to go around, and the demand is just continuing to go up. So that's why value is, on its way up, because there's just not much of it to go around.
Machado asked a question: who's the Caitlin Clark of the WWE?
Great question. Caitlin Clark is hard to compare anybody to, because she's like the Tiger Woods of WNBA, right? Like, she's redefining the value in women's sports like anybody else. But when it comes to like creating that level of prospect in WWE, I mean, there's like a few people that are really, really good, but I don't think they will ever achieve the value that Caitlin Clark has achieved. So like, and here's the thing, like people like Bianca Belair should be among the most valuable people in WWE. She is young enough where she's won all of these titles, she's done all these things, but she's not blonde, and she's not, she doesn't have, all the assets that Tiffany Stratton and Alexa Bliss have. So she's not as valuable because wrestling collectors are weird. But if you think about somebody like her, she should have that level of value. You think of somebody like Rhea Ripley, who's only 24 or 25 years old, but she's already won 3 titles. She's already been WrestleMania winner multiple times. Like, those are the types of people that, as a prospect on the upswing, she has 10 years left of her career, and she's already accomplished more than many of the women do in their entire careers. So like, people like Bianca and Rhea are 2 insane talents that just scream megastar from the top of the hills. Yep. And yet, they don't have that value that Caitlin Clark does, because they don't have the social impact, I think, that Caitlin Clark has had for women's basketball, the way that women's wrestling is here. It's just not as big of a deal.
Yeah, I think like Bianca Belair is also someone I collect, and she's probably the best in the ring that they have right now, right? She's gotten better at her story. I love the current storyline. I think she's going to get her character is going to get better. I can't wait till she turns heel, and my hope is she
want that to happen so bad.
I want that head braid. I you know what I want? I just want her to have a old school loaded head braid when she turns heel.
That would be great. Okay, let's will that to happen. That needs to happen.
You have Jeff Jarrett with the guitar. If she just have a loaded head braid to win matches, we'll love it.
Yes.
But I think like you have Tiffany Stratton, right? If you want to talk about who people are going to gravitate to, it's probably going to be Tiffany time, right? Just because she reminds you a lot of Trish from the looks. She can go in the ring. She can do the flip.
She's super athletic, yeah.
Super athletic. She was a gymnast before coming to WWE.
Yes.
She's super athletic.
She's from right down the road from where I live.
Yeah. She's a beautiful young lady. So I think the guys are going to flock naturally to her.
Yes.
But you also have like Alexa Bliss has carried the division all last year, and you get people flocking to her. I just think you're going to have that outlier like Caitlin Clark, but the women sell way more than most of the men. Like, they outsell Roman Reigns, and that's crazy.
Yeah, and like since Panini's come on, like, so prior to Panini, like The Rock had very little value because he never signed cards and his parallels really weren't worth that much. Panini comes in and like he's all of a sudden the most expensive person in WWE because all the people coming into the hobby, well, I want to collect the best. I want to collect the guy that's the most famous movie star in the world. So his cards just skyrocket in value. And then Roman Reigns sort of follows because he's the current Tom Brady of this era. Like, he has main evented more WrestleManias than Hulk Hogan at this point.
Yeah.
So like all of those people, their value skyrocketed. But yeah, to your point, like Alexa Bliss is still worth a considerable amount of money. You have Tiffany Stratton, who's worth as much as Stone Cold Steve Austin right now. And like, you have Becky Lynch, who's a women's wrestler who really redefined the genre, and she's worth a lot, mainly because I've pumped up her cards so much, unfortunately. But like, you have
she's a lot to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've made my own bed there too. But like, you have all these people sort of like creating new narratives in the hobby thanks to Panini, and they've continued with Topps too. So yeah, Tiffany Tiffany's going to have a long run. I mean, she is super young, and like Rhea's young, and I think when you look at like the young people like Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes and some of these guys are just insanely talented. Theory, yeah. Like they're all so young and they have decades of wrestling ahead of them, and people are like trying to like figure out why their cards aren't worth as much as John Cena. And it's just like, well, they're still very much in their early stages of their career, even though it feels like they've been on TV forever.
Here's the person that can be the Caitlin Clark of the WWE would be Logan Paul. And why can't we get a Logan Paul card? He's only been saying this for 3 years.
Yes, that is a very, very key statement. He absolutely could be the Caitlin Clark of WWE. And if they ever made a Logan, no, they won't, but if they ever made a Logan Paul Prism card, the black 101 would be the most expensive wrestling card of all time, and it wouldn't be close.
Because he would buy
Paul,
it.
What?
He would just buy it and make it.
Yes, he would buy it. And wear it around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Like Logan Paul is a celebrity contract, so it's not part of the deal that they made with WWE. So they have to go and so when WWE licenses their wrestlers, his likeness is not included in that deal because he's under like a celebrity contract. Same with Bad Bunny. The only person that they've been able to sort of get around that for is Pat McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All right. FD, you got any questions? Want to go to the chat?
Yeah, let's go to the chat. We got Logan Paul has a figure that dropped a while back. Did y'all cop?
No.
I don't like Logan Paul. He's a terrible person too.
But I want a card too bad.
We got Tiffany and Tracy time, the greatest duo.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yes.
Long live China.
China, man, like she's another one, like broke all the barriers and gets no love in the hobby. Zero. No one collects her. It's crazy. She accomplished so many things that if they did that today, like it would be all over every news source that there is. If like a woman won the Intercontinental Championship like she did, man, completely different era.
Just asking, do you think that has anything to do with PEDs and everything?
Yes. I mean, everybody's on the gas in WWE at some point in their life, so I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so. But that's no real drug testing, right?
No,
yeah,
I mean, somewhat, kind of.
Drug testing, but it's, I
It's
think now that they're owned by TKO, it's a better drug testing.
Yeah. The wellness program sort of is there to protect the wrestlers from themselves, not anything else.
Yeah.
Interesting. WWE needs Sydney Sweeney.
We all need Sydney Sweeney.
So Machado asks, what wrestling? All right. Well, before we get this, I got two questions. One, you're playing WWE Slam, right?
Yes.
Are there any sets from those digital cards that you would like to see Topps make to actual cards?
Well, they are. One of them was Dynasty. They've put that in previous years of that, and now they're finally bringing it to real cards. They have a lot on there that are really cool.
Yeah.
Their design team does a really good job. So, yeah, it's I would love to see them do a lot of that stuff in real time, but they just don't have they only have 8 products a year, or 10 products a year, so they got to be very judicious with what they put out.
I agree with only having 8 to 10 products a year because don't need to oversaturate it, but I want Fully Loaded back.
I wanted Fully Loaded to be more successful than it was, and it just no one really cared about it. It's unfortunate. I thought it was a good product.
It was a good product. I have a RPA Montez Fords of that. So out of 75, I want that product back, and the cards look so cool. And then so Machado asks, what wrestling pickups are you eyeing this year?
Oh man. So I mean, I am a Dynasty simp. I love Topps Dynasty. I think it is so cool. And for baseball, what they do, I love watching them. Anybody rip any type of dynasty, baseball, soccer, F1, doesn't matter. Dynasty is a great product. And hopefully they'll have cards for Becky and that. I have to believe they will. Plus, it's all going to be ring worn stuff, so that's going to be insane. But yeah, I mean, like Transcendent. Hopefully they bring that back. But I've already gotten the 2 cards that I was probably hunting for this year. So for Topps Chrome, I've collected almost every superfractor that has ever been released for Becky Lynch. I think I have 9 at this point, and that's just the ones I have in hand. I have like 3 more redemptions that I'm waiting on, but I was able to get I got 2 of the base superfractors and the superfractor autograph and the main event autograph superfractors. So those were my cards that I wanted this year because I'm wearing the shirt, but I've collected Topps Chrome since I was a little kid, and that's always been my main set.
So, and I think you and FD, y'all both buy more expensive cards than I buy. Do you think for starting, this is a question for both of y'all. If you think for starting the collection, it's just better to go after the high end stuff first and then just pick up the low end stuff later, or if you decide or not even pick up the low end stuff at all?
That it depends on how much funds you have available, I guess. If I have any advice for anybody, is to start a collection of somebody that is new. So like, don't go and find somebody that has had cards on the market for 10 to 12 years, because all of their good stuff is going to be bought and it's going to be in permanent collections, and people don't sell their stuff in wrestling. Like we hoard all the good stuff for ourselves. Like that's why there's never any big Becky Lynch cards on eBay, because I have them all and I'm never going to sell them. Right. So find somebody that's just getting started and start to build your collection as they build their persona on TV. You just have to latch yourself onto the right person. So like WWE is notorious for pushing people and then completely getting cold on them. So you don't want to get somebody you're not sure if they're going to be around in 5-10 years, whatever. So like find somebody that will be a contributor, start fresh, and pick it up as you go, because if you try and go back 5-10 years, like none of the stuff's going to be available. It's very hard to pick up any good stuff.
I also think people got to learn how to, just the basics, how to take care of a card.
Absolutely, yeah.
How to put it in a penny sleeve and a top loader. How to do research on comps. How to understand what you want to buy, no matter what it may be. Pokemon, wrestling,
absolutely,
any TCG, any sports. Why are you buying that? If the answer is, well, my buddy or this young lady told me about that, probably not a long-term answer.
Right. I mean, like, it depends on kind of like what your goals are. If your goals are to make money, I mean, people will make certain decisions, good or bad, but I don't really function that way. I mean, I buy and sell cards all the time, but like my goal is to improve my own personal collection. There are other people who are going to come in there to make a living or to be a card shop or to do whatever. So they're going to do different approaches than somebody like me would do. And there's really no wrong way to do it. It's just, you got to be mindful of what your limits are.
Yeah. One of my rules in kind of collect something is if it doesn't sell or it doesn't sell what I want it to, I'm okay with keeping this card in my collection. Before I just go, I'm going to grade it. If I buy it, if the answer is yes, then I am okay with whatever risk I decide to take. Whether it's to grade it, whether it's to keep it in hold for a long-term hold and try to, flip it in 6 months to get another card. Then the course, if I like the card, but that's coming out of my basis. So if I, go to a hobby shop and they got some Trish Stratus real repeats out of $3.99, I'm like, if I don't sell this card later, I'm okay with keeping it in my collection. I'm okay with looking at it because my cards are always behind me in this room. I'm touching them every day. I am going through them and just getting that dopamine of collection. And then having the anxiety of, do I really want to put this on eBay? And if I put it on eBay, what is it going to sell? Because I really seen this card on ComC that I want to get. So it's just, just thinking about it like that.
Yeah, Big Jon, for advice for new wrestling collectors, what's the starter pack we can buy?
I would start probably like find the people on TV that make you like excited to watch the show, because it is a grind and like it takes a lot of work. And if you're not excited to collect that person, or you're not sort of building on that person, like it's really hard to stay interested long term. But the standard sets are like Prism and Topps Chrome and Select, and all the normal sets that people can look to build their collections are very available and very easy to get your hands on. So just look on eBay and search names and start finding things that you find interesting, but just recognize that like the way to do it is find interest and passion in doing this, because there's so much work. It's just like
and I would say if you are someone who likes to collect rainbows or all the cards, like you might want to stay away from Topps Chrome or Prism to start, and start with like a subset of Chronicles. Because there are subsets in the Panini Chronicles that are just 5 cards, and you can find those, and once you have the rest of you like, you can find those cards and go from there. Like I really like the Panini Honors cards, and like I picking up Rhea Ripley's and Roman Reigns and then sending them off to grading because they look good in the slab.
Yeah, those are cool cards.
Machado asks also about wrestling case hits. Are you copping or dropping?
So you're talking about the ones from Chrome? Some of them are awesome, like the Helix cards and the WrestleMania logo cards are really cool. Others are really weird looking, like the headshots cards look like I don't even know what like those look really weird. But like Panini's Color Blasts and the Kabooms and the Downtowns are awesome looking. Like you can't go wrong there.
I think with Topps Chrome, you either love the design or you hated it.
Yes,
from it was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like I like the Topps Chrome Montez Ford design because he's not flipping in the air upside down, and most of his Panini cards, all his high value Panini stuff, he's doing either a moonsault or a frog splash.
Yeah.
So I literally skipped out on I think it was 23 Prism because his card was just a frog splash. So he's that little at the top of the screen. Yeah. Like that didn't look good to me. As much as I don't like those. Yeah. So
do you all collect figurines as well? Any thoughts on that? Some of the new ones have cards inside too.
I have quite a few Becky ones, but I don't collect them. Like I collect the new Becky ones, but not the other ones.
I don't collect the figurines. I collect some pops. Like I have some WWE pops, but I
have those too. Yeah.
If I collect something else, management is going to kill me.
Management.
And that's my wife. She's like,
yes, I'm in the same boat.
Jordan says PC technically doesn't have a price, right? That's why.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I agree with that.
Do you have any wrestling cards by you to show?
I do not today. Normally I would. I'm on a work trip, so I am at a hotel in Boston.
So ask questions like you don't know who I am. Let me take this green screen off.
Do you want to talk about that green screen before you take it off?
Oh. Was this Machado who made this for me? It's me as a wrestler. I think that was Machado who made that for me.
That's funny.
What's your wrestling name? Big Jon.
Big Jon.
Big Jon.
What would be anything else?
Okay.
So this is the
Montez Ford photo on my card.
Yeah, that's a great photo. And we got like Chronicles, right?
Ooh, Gunther,
outside of 75, right?
That's cool.
And I'm pretty sure I think you've seen this one. I got the Greta had a bad day because there's nothing wrong with this card.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like that one. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah. At 99, and I can't find anything wrong with that card. Then we talk about the honors, the Roman Reigns.
Oh God,
That
that's such
looks
an awesome
really
photo.
good.
Such an
Him
awesome.
and Rhea images on the honors cards look really good.
Yeah,
So I
agree. I love that honors card.
so there are really good things that you can collect that you wouldn't collect in any other sport when it comes to wrestling card. Like I've seen those cards, like it's a headshot of the tribal chief, you know?
Yeah.
Then I got a couple of Jey Uso cards that came in as well out of 35 because why not?
Machado also asked us Samantha Irving.
Yes. They both do.
Okay, LeBrex.
They both do. Yep.
2 ring announcers. Well,
they both have cards. Yep.
How do you guys feel about Ava Rock's daughter?
She is the commissioner of NXT right now. I'm not a fan. She's kind of blah, but they got to keep her around, right?
I mean, she wasn't good at wrestling, but I think
she wasn't.
I think being a personality is where she'll fit in most, right? Because she does got charisma. And she works at NXT, right?
It's a very, very big shadow to live in.
Yeah.
So what made her not good at wrestling? Because I remember when she first started her wrestling career.
She just didn't. She wasn't great. She just didn't know what to do.
She just didn't have it. It didn't come naturally to her like most 3rd and 4th generation wrestlers do. It just didn't come naturally to her. And then they had her in a weird, creepy sci-fi character group. So it's just. But again, I think she gets to be herself, and in NXT she gets to develop her personality. I think she'd flop on the main roster because it's too many big personalities on the main roster. Like the commissioners on the main roster are grizzled vets who did it in the ring for years, won championships at other companies, and they can stand up to the big personalities on Raw and SmackDown. She has a hard time standing up to TNA wrestlers. So
yeah, you nailed it.
But if you want to collect somebody, Jordan Machado, Jada Parker. That's all I'm saying.
She's awesome.
Jada Parker.
Yeah.
All right, I'm over here doing research as you say these names.
Kalani Jordan is really good too.
Kalani Jordan. Oh, where's that at? I mean, if you know any Kalani Jordan collectors, I do have turn the light off again. Gold cracked ice.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got traded a box of Pokemon Prismatic for it.
I don't know what that's worth, but I'm sure it was a good deal.
It's $200 card for $100 box.
Okay.
So that was a really good deal. And then I have an auto. Yeah.
Machado. Go ahead.
I have a 5,000 count box full of just my wrestling cards, which is mostly Bianca, Dawkins, and Montez. So, but it's all. I'm just not getting to the higher end of the cards. So, working well. I started off with what was in my budget.
Yeah, are the high-end wrestling cards just like the rest of the sports, like Flawless?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, Flawless is, but there's only one Flawless set, so that just came out. Awesome set. Immaculate, there are 2 sets. National Treasures was, I wouldn't buy the standalone National Treasures stuff. It's kind of a sticker dump, but the Chronicles versions of National Treasures are really cool.
So I guess now I gotta watch Jada Parker Russ.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She got swag. I'm telling you,
Oh, Lola Vice is great. She's hurt though. I don't think you'll be able to watch her. I think she's hurt.
I don't think she made it But Electrica or Electra.
Yeah, Electra Lopez. She was released. She got. See, that's the thing. Whenever they have like a Latin American wrestler, they just put him with Rey Mysterio in his group, and they never get a chance to really shine. So
Yeah.
They they're very they do a lot of profiling, unfortunately.
Very typecast. Yeah, listen, as much as I love WWE, there's one thing I always say, no matter who's in charge, is that The Rock is only black in WWE during February. He's Samoan the rest of the year.
Well, in most things he does, he goes back and forth.
Yeah, but when WWE, he's Samoan for 11 months. He's only black in February.
3 months he's black.
Yeah, that's the only time. That is the only time they mention it. They don't mention his father the rest of the year. He's Samoan every month of February. It's one of my problems with The Rock.
That's one of the only ones.
You got enough cachet to embrace both sides all year round. But, so, and I know how important the Samoans are to WWE, but same time, bro, you can't just use it when it's convenient for you.
Yeah, I hear you.
So before we get out of here, we did talk about sports. We got to get your top five in the NBA. We do this with everybody. We need to know who's in that top five of the NBA.
All time?
All time. Yeah, all time. Who's in your top? No wrong answers.
Oh my God, guys. You really this is gonna start wars here. Like I don't know
what we do.
It's a personal list, though.
Jordan number one, not even a question. I gotta put LeBron number two. It's hard to argue against that. Man, this is hard. I would probably say, looking at somebody like Will Chamberlain or Bill Russell, number three, and number four. And then number five, no one gives him any love, but he deserves it for all that he did. Tim Duncan has got to be in the top five. I think Tim Duncan is one of the most underrated players in the NBA history. He's won a ton of rings. He's he did more for San Antonio than anybody has done for that team. I got to give Tim Duncan the love. But, yeah, you guys, that is like the hardest question to answer on the spot. Oh, my God.
FD, you want to give yours?
You're starting fights here.
It's no fights. We have this conversation every week with guests, top five. We talk basketball a lot. And we just know how everybody knows how biased FD is to Steph Curry. So we just like to get the contrast.
I don't think the word is bias. I think talent appropriation is what we call it. Not bias.
There is a place for Steph in everybody's top five. The guy has accomplished a ton. And for me personally, I don't identify as much with that era of basketball as I do with some of the earlier eras where it was more of my youth. Honestly, Sean Kemp is one of my favorite players of all time.
If Sean Kemp played today, he's making millions.
Yeah.
And he's all over social media.
Well, he has 8 kids. He needs millions of dollars to.
Well, I think he's beating him now.
If you get like Sean Kemp, then you must love Zion, right?
I mean, he hasn't played very much. He's played 100 games in 5 years.
In shape and athletic. No.
But I love KG. Obviously, since I'm in Minnesota, KG's great, but he never won any of the titles except for when he went to Boston. So I can't put him anywhere close to the top then.
I got KG at 16. So I got Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson. I got Steph in there, Kareem, and Kobe Bryant.
Can't argue with that.
I have LeBron at 11.
I think LeBron defined our generation. It's just even though he he has the longevity has contributed to a lot of his record setting, but like he's one of the most culturally relevant basketball players ever besides Jordan. So,
and earlier we talked a little bit allegedly about that longevity.
Yes, exactly. I don't know any of that stuff, so you guys are well.
Allegedly, yes.
I don't know if he went to Diddy parties or something.
That's right. Add that on too. Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
That's right.
Ahead, Big Jon.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna either one. Who's the top 5 wrestlers of all time?
Now you're really killing me here. So I'm not gonna put them in a particular order because it's hard. But Stone Cold and Rock, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and it's like I want to say somebody like somebody like CM Punk or something like that, just because I love watching him. But what?
The Second City Saint.
Yeah, it's like I love watching Punk. But like I think everybody wants to put I would put the Undertaker up there. I'd put there's guys even as far back as from the territory days of those, but I can't identify with that because it just wasn't my era. So I'm really influenced by the eras of today, and so the people that I love the most are Stone Cold, Rock, Cena, Roman, those guys.
Trish, Lita, Cena, Eddie Guerrero, The Rock. That's a good top 5. Rock, Ultimate Warrior, Bret, Booker T.
Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, man, like cannot argue with that at all. Like Triple H, even like what he's done for wrestling, like all those guys deserve it. Like that's what's so hard about wrestling is like if you can't like count stats or titles or anything because it's all predetermined. So it's like it's not the same gravitas as like actually winning a Super Bowl or winning a finals, right?
Yeah, but there's some gravitas being even though it's predetermined. It's something to know that they trust me enough to carry the company.
That's true.
Roman and Seth carried the company. Roman's carried the company. Now you got Cody carrying it. So it's good. FD, from back when you watched wrestling, you got a top 5?
Oh, I would have to go. I started out with Dick the Bruiser when I was young. I would go with Hulk Hogan, just from what he did when it first started out. I would go with Andre the Giant. Who else was I just? Roddy Piper.
Oh, I love Piper. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then I would go with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man was one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like see, that's the thing. Like you always forget these people. Like I would like Macho Man is so awesome. I love Macho Man.
Yep. Guy used to play football, did other sports.
Yeah, he was a baseball player.
Yep.
I would go John Cena, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and then my 5th is going to be really funny, R-Truth.
Now we're talking longevity. He looks like he's still 30.
Yeah.
He's like 52.
And the reason why I give R-Truth because he's not too many people make it in WWE being a comedy person.
Yeah.
For all the years he's been there.
All those years.
And he's gold every time you see him on the screen, every time you see him in the ring.
He's a joy every time he comes on the screen.
Yeah. People hide their phones, during this time of year because they think they're going to cut. I don't think R-Truth worries about getting cut anytime.
Yeah. Can't cut him. People would lose their shit.
And technically, he has won the most championships ever on the roster.
With the 24/7.
But again, like you see our truth, you give him 2 minutes with a live mic, and it's gonna be the funniest 2 minutes you've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's gold every time. I love it.
Who won? Did the Warriors win or?
Oh, they're up by 2.
Okay.
They allow the Warriors to get down, especially when Steph is not playing. They allow Milwaukee to come back. Milwaukee was down at one point by 17 points. They allowed them to creep back in. Jimmy just hit a big shot. I believe that the Warriors will win this game. I think if Jimmy and Draymond take this over, they will win this game. We'll see, though. They need to, because you can't let these kind of games slip away at this time of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to see their answer in the playoffs for when they play bigs. Last night, they played a team with some bigs. They had some problems. So we'll see. There's answers to that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Just like tonight, there are bigs on this team. Milwaukee has had problems. So we'll see.
When are you getting FD to start a wrestling? That is going to be totally FD's decision if he gets back in wrestling.
Question. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't miss this. Where's this at? Who said this?
Machado.
Oh, when you getting FD to start a wrestling? Machado, I don't know.
That is totally up to him. I've been told not to influence him.
No, you can influence. You can bring. That's why we're here, Big Jon. That's why we're talking wrestling tonight, because we're stretching ourselves. We're not trying to stay within our regular realm. So it will be under consideration.
Yeah. Adam, you got any questions for us before we end and get out?
No, man, it's getting late here.
Yeah, we got you a lot, and I want to keep you long. I know you're working up in Boston.
I appreciate you taking this. I'll tell you this, Adam, taking this live podcast on the road. I appreciate you, man. That's no joke.
I wanted to hop on. I love talking shop.
I appreciate.
I was looking forward to this all day. I'm telling you guys, if you have a Patreon, go into this group. Go ahead and plug it. Get your promo on the outro.
Main Event Wrestling Cards, www.patreon.com/main event wrestling cards. I'm on Instagram at WWE Gelman. I'm at Twitter. I'm never going to call it X. I'm on Twitter at SC Uncensored. So yeah, come follow, join up. It's all free. We're trying to create a community. So
yeah,
got about 1,000 people so far.
No problem, man. I appreciate you taking the time. We got to do this again, man.
Thank you, sir.
Coming. Appreciate you.
Next time I want prep before we start asking top 5 basketball players.
Okay, we'll go 6 through 10.
I warned you that we don't do prep. This is all off the cuff. We got no script. This is all off the dome. We,
oh man,
just like WWE, ain't no, and we go off script, no script right here. We just go talking and see where the night takes us. But it's fun, man. I appreciate you, man. I've learned so much.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, bye. Did I get out?
All right, guys. I'm gonna get going here, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. You can let him out.